think of your questions, guys. So the icon series came in mind to literally learn from ones who've done it. So if iconing is the reason why you're here, this is why you switch your business over to EXP and it's very important to you, then you need to come and learn from the ones who've done that. Like, I'm not going to teach you icon. I didn't get icon. That's not the reason why I joined. Hey, Kim. There we are. So I wanted the ones that actually walk the walk and talk the talk to share how they got to where they at. Because there's no reason for anyone to have to invent the wheel, to be like, oh, what should I do to get to where I'm going? Instead, ask the ones who's been there. That's the easiest way. The quickest way to success is just walk somebody else's path, if it applies to you. So Kim, thank you so much for being here with us today. I'm going to change the speaker view so they can see you. And so just take it from here. So really the whole point of the icon program is to get to learn from the ones who've done it. You know, so they don't have to, I mean, raise your hand if you learned a life lesson on the hard way. There we go. So I rather learn something from you that thankfully you had to suffer through it, but then hopefully I don't have to suffer through it, but I can get the same end result without the pain. So that's why we're here today. Exactly. Walk everybody through a little bit of your history with us and, you know, how long you've been with us and what's important to you and what is your team structure like and what you love about EXP, and just kind of like a quick little 5-minute, who is Kim Sion and the Sion team. And then we'll go into what you have for us today.
Perfect. Yeah. So I guess in a nutshell, I mean, so I've been with EXP, what is it, 2 years? I think, yeah. And it's been like a total game changer, but I will have to say, like, the way that I've always thought about business and running business, it just really aligned, like EXP just brought it all together. So I've always been kind of thinking outside the box. I started with Century 21 and I was like the newbie realtor in an office full of like people that had been doing it for like 40 years, right? So I knew nothing. And I got licensed, like I went out and I bought like every book, even like Real Estate for Dummies, read it cover to cover, like I was gonna succeed. So I was really determined early on, but like there was just really old broken methods that just didn't really seem to make sense. So that's where I kind of started shifting gears, realizing a lot of our lead generation is all gonna, it was going online. Like you didn't take floor time anymore. You didn't do the old tired stuff. So I branched off and just started finding like new ways to network, new ways to find niches. And I will have to say a lot of the creativity and like how to generate leads really did come from like, well, I guess I already had it, but EXP just kind of like harnessed that and like let me roll with it. So since I've joined, I mean, my business I think has just blown up. Really it has, because I was taking these really good ideas and then I had a company that was willing to support the growth. So it worked out really, really well. So I don't think I would have iconed, or I don't think I would have sold as much, honestly, if I would have been doing it.
And so how many transactions did you do the year before you switched over?
Oh my gosh, I think maybe 20, 25.
That's
maybe.
Still a lot of transactions. So what changed and what does that change look like today?
So, you know, honestly now, it's been really good in the sense that I think I've been able to focus more on value. So I don't know if in terms of like quantity, I mean, I obviously am selling more. I have more transactions per year, but I want to say that like the quality of like lead and the way that I can target exactly who I want has created a better quality business. Like I'm now kind of choosing who I'm doing business with, which is a huge game changer. And then also on top of that, I can kind of, you know, I don't have to chase the $100,000 deal anymore, which I don't even know if those exist in anyone's market. Like that's unheard of.
Some woods.
Yeah, I can choose that better quality lead, but now I kind of have the skills to like target that lead and I can find them. So yeah, I mean, it's changed a lot in terms of, I think just the quality of business is substantially better than what I was doing before.
So you used to be an individual agent when you came over, correct?
Yeah.
Now you have, what is your team called?
So we're just Sion Real Estate Company. And so we are now, it's the same model as like Team Gogo. We have some buyer's agents that work with us, but they don't like directly advertise like our brand and our business. We do that, but they do, you know, we have our little business agreements on the side. But I actually really love that I don't have to babysit anybody. So we have several agents that have come and joined us, and it's me and my husband. We're husband and wife team, but even he kind of like runs his own side of things. Like, we're independent agents that just have a really good group of like camaraderie, and we can lean on each other, but it's actually helping all of us build a more successful business rather than when I was actually at Century 21, the kind of the end of it, I did start a team, but the team structure doesn't really work at the, you know, when you've got the guy on top and everyone's, you know, you're getting all the success and fame, it blows up. And so that was kind of like the straw that broke the camel's back. Like, I just knew that this traditional structure of how we were doing things is just, it was broken, it was tired. And that team falling apart kind of devastated me. So to come over and have a team structure that we have now, where me and my husband essentially are at the top, but we still promote and help the agents underneath us to build their own brand, to go out and do their own thing. It works out really well. They're happy, we're happy, everyone's making money. Like, that's the goal. So it works really well. I'm happy with it.
So what took you to Icon? So what are you guys doing on a day-to-day basis? I don't know if you brought an actual presentation or some bullet points or what you want to make sure that you cover today.
Yeah, well, and I guess, so I didn't put together any type of presentation. I was just going to kind of hit, there's a couple of like key things that we've always implemented. And then this year, of course, like with the support of EXP and all the different ways that we can leverage what we were already doing. It worked out really well. So, I mean, I actually see like this next year, we'll probably double what we did last year, if not more, just by implementing some of the basic systems. But I think like early on, like for us, like we had to first like define our why, like why we were structuring this, why we wanted to build it, what were our goals. And like, we really had to like relate with those to our core. Like, we had to believe that what we were doing was like, this was fundamental to our business. And so I think why, and you find like a passion for it, I think it's easy to kind of follow suit with everything else. Like, you're just driven.
By any chance, do you have a cell phone that's buzzing somewhere next to your laptop?
Maybe, hold on.
Because
I thought that was construction at your house, Gogo. That's what I was assuming it was.
No, it's at her.
No.
It sounds like she's getting
like a jackknife.
Yeah, it sounds like
a little vibrator. Or vibrating.
Okay, did that go away? Or is it still going?
It goes off. It only goes off periodically. It sounds like you're getting a call or something, and then the vibration is right by the speaker wherever your laptop is.
Gotcha.
But
okay, well, it's all.
Just off again. I don't know what that is. It's just like a big buzzing sound. That's okay. We'll survive through it. So let's talk literally step by step. So what are you doing? You said you start with your why. So let's go back there. So what does a why mean? What's your why, and what kind of why should an agent have? And how do they get to Icon?
Yeah, so honestly, it's kind of funny because I also mentor agents. So I hear and I always tell them, I'm like, just find a why. You've got to figure out why you're doing this, what's driving you. And it ultimately, I think, when I talk to all the agents, when I actually hear their why, it kind of tells me right out of the gate, like how successful they're going to be. And I always like tell people, I'm like, just think bigger, right? Just think bigger. We always tend to put like really like manageable, accomplishable, like we can accomplish this. Like, we know we can do it, but sometimes like your why has to be inclusive of just what the bigger picture is going to be. If you could define your perfect life, what would that why be? You know, like, you know, so I always talk about all these different things with agents. And really, like, for me, the why that we did is that, you know, I really want to provide a better life for my family. I really want a comfortable lifestyle. I really want a career I can love and go to work and enjoy doing. And so I think that too, it sets like an environment for us. Like, we're not going to implement things into our business that's going to make us think, ooh, you know what, it just puts a bad taste in my mouth. Like, we're really going to be, I guess, careful to protect the environment that we want to build. And
if
like
you
your
take
lifestyle.
time away from the family, you're not going to do it because your why was to have more time with the family. So
Exactly.
if it's something that doesn't fit your why, your end goal, then we're just not going to do it, even if it's going to make you $1 million, but you're going to be miserable with the $1 million and not have any time to spend with the family. So number one, figure out your why. And I truly believe it's very, very important. My why initially, and your why will change through the years as well. So my why initially was, I just wanted to be able to afford to go home to Romania every single year without having to ask my husband, like, I need $7,000 to buy 3 airplane tickets. And I wanted to be able to go on vacations like spring break every year with the family without having to save for it and having to skip pizza or having to, you know what I mean? So we can afford that. I just wanted to make initially enough money so I can go home every summer and we have enough money to go on spring break. That was my initial why. That has changed a little bit. Now my spending limits are a little bit higher and the lifestyle I want is a little bit higher. But that's okay, because the more you work and the more time you spend in industry, the better you get at it and the more money you're going to make. And the more money you make, it comes with a different lifestyle. And that's why we are doing it. You know, somebody asked me in one of the groups of like, hey, are you still, with the money that you're making today, are you still living your life like if it was 5 years ago? And I stopped for a minute. I was like, why would I do that? I worked so freaking hard for the last 5 years to have what I have today. I want to enjoy the fruit of my labor. I want to be able to take the time and live it to the standard that I worked so hard for. Like, what am I going to do with the money? Put it in the bank and, I don't know, put in a U-Haul when I die and take it where? To heaven? I don't think it's coming with me. You know what I mean? So
it's funny. It is funny. Your why should change. And honestly, over the years, and it's like you set small milestones, but as you start accomplishing them and you do different things, it's like it's required. Like you have to evolve your why and you have to keep growing and expanding. And so like for us, it was just, you know, we made really clear, we have clear expectations of what we want our lifestyle to look like. And what we set today may not be what we end up with in 5 years. But just being open to the idea that like we have a clear idea of like where we're going, what we want our lives to look like, what we want our business to look like. And I think that that's a really, really important part that people just bypass. They just go, oh, I'm just going to go sell a bunch of houses and make a ton of money. That's going to burn out. And like, you don't really have like a why, right? Like, oh, you want a Ferrari, but like, yeah, what's that going to do? So after we kind of defined that, it was more or less just like hit the ground running. Like you gotta have some action behind everything that you do. So for me, my two biggest, like, I guess my honeypots is that I focus a lot on like niches and networking. So this is like my bread and butter to my business. So networking, I am out like, we'll go to like luncheons, we do talks, first got licensed. I was networking with any and everybody except for realtors, which was funny. My broker was like, are you going to go to that realtor luncheon? And I'm like, they're not going to buy a house. Why would I talk to them? And so I was really concentrated on the people.
To interrupt, but the sound is getting more and more often. Is anybody here, or is it just me? Everybody here.
All going back.
I hear it too.
Okay.
Yeah, it's getting more and more often. So I wonder what it is. Are you speaking? Are you on a laptop?
I am on a laptop.
So the sound and everything comes from the laptop, and there's no construction in your house?
I was going to say, is the laptop vibrating when you get a notification, or are you getting notifications on your laptop in any?
I'm not. Hold on. I can go over to my husband's and see if that works. I don't know.
I don't know why it's making like a really like a weird sound, and it's happening more and more often. So it was fine when it happened once a minute, so then we could still have an idea of what. Maybe you could call in from your, since you don't have a presentation, just call in from your cell phone.
Okay. Also, well, see, is it doing it now?
No, not right now.
Okay.
So we could continue, and if it doesn't,
let me know, because if it keeps doing it, I'll just hop on the cell phone and I'll do it.
Okay. So then, so let's go back to where we left off, which was
so like networking. And that's the thing too, is it's so funny, like when I talk to new agents or even agents that are trying to like revive their business, they always think that it's like, oh, well, your branding is really good. And it's like, no. I'm like out. I'm networking. I'm meeting people.
You have to call in from your cell phone. It's keep going off.
Okay. All right, Kate, I'll call.
Okay, call in from yourself. In the meantime, let's talk about if anybody has any questions you want to discuss very quick. This is your time. If you don't have any questions, that means you have it all figured out. I have a hard time believing that. Everybody has it all figured out today? There's nothing I can help you with?
No, but I have something to share that I learned in my state meeting today, if y'all have a second.
Well,
There's this website, this software company called Propy.com, PROPY.com. Have y'all ever heard of that?
No.
It's for multiple offer situations. So the listing agent downloads it and the multiple offers go into the software and it categorizes them and it compares all the different offers, the down payment and all the different features that the offer might have so that the buyer can look at it easily and decide, which offer they like. They can decline them right there on the website, or they can counter offer, or they can accept it right there on the website. Anyway, it's PROPY.com if anybody wants to look it up.
Thank you. I've never heard of them. And I wonder, so how do they submit their offer then? You send your Propy link and then just fill out the details, I would assume. And there's specific questions and they're like, what's your down payment? Is it conventional FHA?
Yeah, I mean, it'll have the actual offer. Like they upload their documents, and I'm not sure the details of how it all goes into the system, but there's a little tutorial on the website, and you can take a look at the videos and see if it's something that might benefit. I mean, I'm not in a multiple offer situation at this point, but some of y'all definitely are.
Thank you. That's a good one to check out. Thank you so much. Okay, is Kim back yet?
I was just on. Alexis put a question in the chat box.
Let's see. I'd like to know how she keeps her clients organized through a daily, weekly basis through the whole process until close. Okay, we'll ask her that. There she is. Okay, let's try this. Kim, oh, still connecting audio. There we go. Okay. Unmute yourself, Kim, in the bottom left. You're automatically muted at first when you log in. Yeah, just tap in the bottom, tap your screen, and it should be the micro. There you are. Awesome. Okay. So let's hopefully this one doesn't buzz. So tell us about what do you call networking? So how do you network and how do you get your buyers and sellers from that?
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess even in 2020, we had to redefine what networking was, right? So we couldn't go to the luncheons. We couldn't be present. We couldn't do the things that we would do. I've always felt like it was really, really beneficial to network with other professionals. If people are really, I guess, responsive to presentations that you do, or, you'll get a lot of good quality leads that way. But 2020 came with a lot of hurdles where, you couldn't go to those things, you couldn't do those. So we had to jump on, obviously, all platforms, not just, social media, but it was even to the extent of where, if you're trying to work your neighborhood and you're trying to farm your neighborhood and you can't go door to door, a lot of places you get fined if you did that, or it wasn't allowed. It's like, so what do? Do you hop on the Nextdoor app? Do you start networking with your neighbor and all of those different things? So we just started venturing into every way possible that we can network online. Honestly, it became easier when you realize that it's free and you can tap into anybody at any given time, as long as you're putting valuable content in front of them. So when it came to farming neighborhoods, we moved. So we had to farm a new neighborhood. So we did the Nextdoor app. We posted on it. We stayed relevant. We started talking about hosting a barbecue or, things like that when we were allowed to be out, right? Getting on LinkedIn and just staying consistent with trying to still network with those professionals that we would have gone and networked face-to-face anyways.
So do you have a set schedule for that? So you say, okay, every Tuesday morning I hit LinkedIn. Every whatever.
Yeah.
Every Friday afternoon, we do a barbecue in our backyard. Like, is there like some sort of a schedule for the madness, or just kind of follow gut feeling, or how does that work?
Yeah, no, you definitely have to have a schedule. And it was something as simple as even like when we would take our dogs for a walk, we would go and we'd hand the flyers to the kids would go and do the door hangers on the neighbor's house. So there was definitely like, it was planned, kind of based on like a schedule and timing that made sense for us and our lifestyle, but it was more like incorporative into like our regular family lifestyle. It wasn't it wasn't hard to manage or follow it, you know? So yeah, so we do have a schedule, and I do have like how I post and how I follow up and how I network with people on the Realtor app.
That's such a great idea of like, you moved into a brand new neighborhood, probably a city, a different city that you were living in. And now you decided, okay, I'm going to farm this area, but I'm not going to take time out of my normal schedule. I'm just going to add that on to my daily dog walking schedule. And I take my kids with me, which now it's family time, which, by the way, did you know that you can write off, and this might be state specific, but you can write off to $12,500 per child per year off of your income if your children are helping you. So now you can, now you're doing it on social media, which you have the social proof. If you ever get audited, yes, my child is working for me. Watch him delivering door hangers every single day. You spend time with your children. You're setting the right expectations for what work is. And you succeed at the same time. Like, so you're not changing lifestyle around work. You're figuring out how can you put work back into your own lifestyle.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think that, I mean, with that, I mean, it's just, there's so many different avenues, and I have a whole like template, and it's like a Google Doc, and you can go in and you can click all the different apps and different things that we do. And I'm happy to send it to you guys, but it does help you kind of keep a schedule and a guideline of, I guess like a clear idea of what your consumer is. Like, who are you marketing to? Why are you marketing in that way? And then I think that's where it pulls into the niche category. So when you're marketing and you're networking and doing all these different things, you know, you don't want to waste time. It's one of those things, like I said, my old broker was like, oh, you're going to go to a realtor luncheon? And I'm like, no, because they're not buying a house for me. There's no point of me putting my time and effort necessarily into these luncheons when I can put it into something else that's actually going to like provide a harvest, right? Like if I plant the seeds, I want to see some type of benefit come out of it. So for me, it was really like finding those niches. I ended up partnering with like a lender that did credit repair. And so from that, I started working leads that no one wanted. And they were like, why are you wasting time on somebody who can't buy a house? And I'm like, well, they can't buy a house today, but in August, I have 8 people that can buy a house. So I ended up building a pipeline that way, where like I had 2 years of guaranteed business. I just could look at the calendar and say, 4 people are going to be approved next month. I know I have 4 deals, you know? So there was just different ways that I found niches in the market in terms of, and then I did another one with like investors. It almost allowed me to kind of just flip the switch on whenever I wanted leads, and then I could turn it off when it was done.
So how many transactions made you guys icon?
So our average purchase price went up here quite a bit, like it did in a lot of different areas. So I think we were around, 7 or 8, I think.
8 to cap.
To cap. And then I think we had like an additional, I mean, I guess in terms of volume, it was around, I think 7 or 8 million in sales is when we actually, you cap plus got the 20 transactions back.
Talking about 28 transactions. So you would say out of 28 transactions, how many came from networking?
Probably almost 70% came from networking.
So where did the other 30% come from? The credit?
So we do like the online leads. We'll do Google Ads, KV Core. And that was the other thing too, is we actually started implementing KV Core and using it pretty religiously. If you actually master that system, it took us about 2 months to fully dive into it and customize it to us. And then we also had like, you know, different campaigns, and I guess we tested it for about 2 months. What had the biggest conversion rate. And so we modified everything that way. So now the system essentially turns about 30%. It's pretty consistent, about 30% every every month our business is coming from KV Core. So this is essentially just the system talking to leads for us. So it frees up a lot of our time to be out networking, meeting with those people, getting those face-to-face interactions. For me, I have a higher conversion rate when I'm like face-to-face with somebody. And but like you tell me to pick up the phone and cold call, like I will stumble and I will fall, and it's just not good. It's not. So it was more or less like putting our strengths where we knew would benefit our business the most. And for us, it was being out. So, and then we just set up automation for everything else to supplement our business.
So last year was 70% networking and 30% KV Core, or was there some, you said some of the credit repair people are some of the transactions, and then you said investors.
Yeah.
So what percentage you would say? So if it was 28 transactions, how many transactions were credit repair and how many transactions were
Gotcha.
investors?
Yeah. So I guess in terms of when I'm saying networking, I guess I'm kind of grouping all of those people into one. So realistically, of that 70%, I mean, we probably have about a third of them were just solely investors. And then the nice part with the investors is they're frequent flyers. Right. Yeah. So investors always come back. We want those. So we know that they're a guaranteed like piece of our pie that's always going to be there as long as we take care of them and make them money. So I would say about a third of the 70% ended up being the investors. And then really it would probably the rest of whatever is left. It's about half and half between referrals, the credit repair. The other thing is when you find those niches and you find somebody that has a need and you really lead your services with value and you're out there to help someone else, not just to make a dollar, the reciprocity, the effect of them giving back it's pretty substantial. You know, you help somebody who was basically shut down by everyone that they couldn't buy a house, and you jump in and you hold their hand for 6 months, 7 months. While that seems like that might be a lot of time invested into one person that's maybe only buying like a $300,000 house, the reality is everybody and their dog is going to get sent to you because there's so much gratitude there. So the credit repair people, and it was a while ago when we sat down with the Tony Robbins team, we were talking about create fanatics, not just clients. Yeah. That's really what that is. It's leading with value and helping people, you know, and it's reciprocity, it gives back. So that was kind of where it was at, but it was probably about the rest of that 70% after you take out the investors, it's probably about half and half between referrals, the credit repair people, and yeah.
And then so the last third or 30% is KV Core. So are you planning on doing this year the same way?
This year it's crazy because it went nuts. And so we're having to implement a whole, almost a whole new structure of bringing in more agents. Our referrals are just going crazy. And so, yeah, it's going to be one of those things where we're going to have to just kind of restructure for growth this year. But I think it's going to be a really good thing. Yeah, it'll be different though.
So what do you think the difference is going to be? What do you need to do different this year?
The difference this year is really bringing on more people, because we've always focused so much on quality versus quantity. And so now we are in a great position to be having to juggle quantity. So it's obviously, you know, you don't want it's damage control. You don't want to just take on more clients than you can handle. So for us, it's definitely getting more hands on deck, servicing more people, outsourcing more tasks. And so we can still go ahead and run the business like we have.
So do you see that more happening as like in-house transaction coordination and in-house photography or things like that? Or do you see it happening more so with like adding on agents to your local team? Or do you see that happening by bringing on agents to your nationwide team where you can just feed the leads and not have to babysit, as you said?
Yes. Yeah. So it's kind of a mixture of all of that. Yes. It is. So we're already doing a lot of outsourcing, but now it's just a matter of taking off those time-consuming tasks. You know, you have the transaction coordinator, but now you need like an operations management specialist. Like you need somebody that runs the day-to-day. And so it's just implementing people like that keeps it running smoothly. And then in addition to that, there has to be more agents. And so we're definitely marketing out that way that, you know, we have the business. This market is really tough for a lot of agents if they've never navigated different markets. So it's actually a really good opportunity for us to be able to come out and say, hey, you know, we have some business for you. You know, if you're struggling, this is kind of how we'll do it. So
I have a very specific question from Alexis from earlier in the comments, and she said, let me find it. I'd like to know how she keeps her clients organized through a daily, weekly basis through the whole process until close.
Perfect. Yes. So, I mean, I think on top of that, it depends on how your brain works. I am a paper person, and I know that that seems kind of crazy and weird, but I'm a paper person. I literally track everybody in my book. That is me. We do obviously have like fail safes in place.
Notebook. I work off as much, you see, I'm all for technology and apps and what is going to make your life easier, but this is how my brain works. I have to.
That's how I am too.
Yeah, with my own handwriting.
Yep. And it's so funny because, you know, I have like a system of how I like set it up in my book, but literally everybody I'm working with every day gets put down in some order of who I'm talking to and how I'm talking to them and what the priority is. And that's how my brain works. I have fail safes that I put in place, obviously. So I'll do like, I have tons of Google alerts and calendar alerts that I put in my system, but we do rely on, you know, there's softwares out there, you know, KV Core is one of them that you can start implementing once you convert somebody, it walks you through the transaction. A lot of the software aspects of it are just kind of based off of if we have an admin, what their preference is. But obviously we just kind of keep us in the loop. We do rely heavily on like Gmail, not Gmail, but like the calendars and whatever else to share it with everybody. But I am a paper person. And it's so funny. Somebody that I'm working with, they'll have their name written in my book probably 80 times before I'm finished with them. That's just how I work.
Yeah. So every day I wake up and I write down literally like little bullet points of like, oh, this is what I need to do today. Like, don't forget to pay credit card. Don't forget to call Joe Schmo. Don't forget to go on this. Don't forget to do this. And then when I'm done, I check it off. I also enjoy pass it out. I also enjoy the feeling of no matter how small or big the task is, I got it done. There's a check mark next to it. I got it. It makes me feel successful. So, okay, so let's say you and me talk today and I tell you that I want to sell my house. How do we get, what's the process of like starting from day one working with you? How often do you follow up with me? Do you come out to listing appointments? Do you do your own photography? Do you do your own paperwork? Do you do it paper or electronic? How do you get from, hey, I want to sell my house with you all the way to the closing table? Do you bring a closing gift? Do you target them afterwards? Like, what is the process of turning a stranger into a client and then keeping that client for a lifetime?
Yes. So I will just start with saying that I do have like a client for life, like standard. So even if I sell a home and I'm the listing agent, that buyer that moves into that house, that's my orphan, right? Most buyer's agents will never follow up with them. They will never talk to them until 3 years later when they think they might want to sell, and they'll pick up the phone because they need business. So those buyers, they get put on mailing lists. So I have magazines that I send out every other month. And then just depending on whether it was a buyer or if it was a seller or whatever the situation is, I actually have categories of mailers that go out to all my people. So it's always a top of mind marketing. I never want them to forget about me. We send out football calendars as well because we're in a college town. So, sending out the college stuff is great. And then, I mean, it's just always, there's always touch points. So people are always thinking about us. But yeah, it's
very quick. So how often in a month do you do mailers? What type of mailers do you send out? What kind of servicing company do you use for that? And how much does it cost?
So the magazines that I send out, those ones are a little bit more, but they are through Reminder Media. They are, and I actually think if I refer out people, you get like some type of discount code or whatever on it. But they are basically, you pay by magazine. So it depends on how many contacts you have, but it allows you to go in and it does organize all of your, you can import Excel sheets, you can put it directly in there. It's whatever, but you can organize them based off of past sellers, past buyers, whatever. And so we do have a system, but we use Reminder Media for that. It goes out probably 6 to 7 times throughout the year. And they really hit heavily around like holidays. So people are always getting marketing around the holidays. So that really takes off a lot for me.
So after we are done, this is automatically posted right now in Team Gogo. We're actually live. After we are, you go into this post and then post your link to Reminder Media, so that you can get credit for the referral if anybody wants to use the same service.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
so how much does that cost? So how much do you think you spend in a year on printed marketing that you?
Yeah. So I mean, at this point, we really do have, I mean, there's like thousands of people in our database because we also include a lot of our own sphere of influence and people that we do business with that maybe they weren't past clients. And it really just, I mean, I get compliments all the time on it. People always call and say, thank you. And that's really what I want to know is that I'm at the top of their list. If they're picking up the phone and saying, hey, I appreciate that, I know they're thinking of me. So if someone needs to buy, sell, I'm probably going to be at the top of the referral on that. So I mean, I think realistically, every other month I can spend anywhere between $600 to $1,200 a month. And like I said, that's just because that's our choice to send out as many as we do. So you pay by, however many. So in a year, I would probably say a return on that. Realistically, we get a lot of our repeat or our past clients. We don't generally lose people that we did business with before. We're really good about keeping all of those people. So we do get a ton of the repeat business. It's rare that we see somebody list a home with somebody else. So I think it does come back tenfold, honestly. I don't feel like it's a loss by any means. It's really good. In terms of other mailers, like I said, we do a lot of just like regular, like door hanger things ourselves, when we're out and about and doing things. I don't think there's really a whole lot else that we do with those. Mailing is kind of that dinosaur that like it's a necessary evil in business. It kind of is, but I think we definitely just emphasize more on social media and we're always touching base with people. There's like a system that I have on my social media page where I just go through at the first of the month and I'll just add any and everybody that I'm possibly like connected to. And then at the very end of the month, I'll go in and I'll invite them to like our page. And so I just follow the people that I add and you just comment, you just connect with people. And so it really does save a lot of the expenses of mailing. If you just take the effort to go in and comment and say, hey, congratulations on your daughter, graduating from college and, and things like that. It just goes a long way.
So that's
engaging
idea to go back. And the clients you're talking to, the people you are just talked to today. Think of the 5 people you already talked to today. Do you follow them? They have to live somewhere.
Yeah. No, it's very true.
You can ask them to, hey, follow me on my business page. I had a great call with you. I don't know, you're the vet at my dog clinic. Who cares? The vet has to live somewhere. Yeah, so ask them, what's your Instagram? Let me follow you. And then they follow you back. Good idea. I love that. Okay, so I become a Mrs. Sal. You're going to work together. Do you personally come out to the listing appointments? What is your listing presentation?
Yes. Yeah.
That's very quick because we are 30 minutes.
Okay. So realistically, when I get out there, I know I've heard it both ways when agents say, well, you shouldn't leave anything at the listing presentation or you should. It's like the great debate among listing agents. For me, I really do feel like every time I go out, I do bring a really good quality listing presentation. I leave it with them. I always give my sellers like a range of where the house could be listed or whatever the situation is. And I probably will spend about an hour talking about the different market strategies, things that are happening in the market. And before I go out, I'm an expert in their neighborhood. I've already pulled up all of their neighbors. I know their neighbors' names. I know what home has sold, closest to theirs. So I do a lot of research before I go out to that listing appointment. So, but I'll go out there and I do spend a lot of time just really building a relationship with them. I think that probably the amount of time that I sit and talk with a seller, maybe 10% of it is actually talking about real estate. The rest is them just, I guess me and them, like just deciding, do they like us? Do they like me? Do I like them? Are we going to work well together? And so from there, I have, I guess, a touch point system. As soon as I leave, obviously, you can send like a thank you note. You can do some type of like pop by, hang it on their door, whatever it is that you'd like to do. This market's moving really fast. So listing appointments go a lot different than what they used to. Before it was, you would kind of baby that seller for a month or two. And now it's just like boom, boom, boom. So when I'm there, I do let them know I'm a better realtor than photographer. So I don't do any of my photography. I don't do any of the staging. And so just by letting them know, we have people on call that can get out here tomorrow if you want to get your house on the market, like we can do it. So I think just offering services and value, this market moves fast, and being able to beat everybody and get in there and offer it, that's really what's kind of, it's a convenience.
So then you do your documents, do you go back again and sign in person, or do you do electronic?
Yeah, so I will go ahead and I do everything electronic. I used to bring the contract with me to the appointment, and maybe it's just a little bit of like our demographic here. It did not set well. No one likes it. And so it just worked out really well that you just build that relationship, and then, you know, you pick up the phone maybe an hour or two after and be like, hey, you know, I really appreciate you have me over, you know, have you guys made a decision about what you want to do? Any of the list price? Do you know, and just kind of asking them questions. The person that asks the questions controls the conversation. That's how it works. And then you just kind of get to a point where they're like, hey, no, we really want to list and sell. And you say, great, you send all the documents over. And then we're just really, you know, you just follow up and make sure they're getting everything signed. And yeah, but I don't bring contracts with me anymore. I used to. This is just a better flow.
Yeah, I agree. And then you do photography, and then you pay for, correct? For the professional photography and videography for your listings?
Yep, I do all of that. Yep.
And do you guys do open houses?
We do open houses. Yeah. So like I said, this market, we're usually, so for us, Thursdays are like our hot days. It's the perfect day to put it on the market, and you know, you'll get the Friday, the Saturday, do your thing. And yeah, so we'll do open houses. And we also do invite like the buyer's agents to come and you know, sit the open houses and get some of the leads and so on. Yeah. So.
Awesome. And then do you do a closing gift? Like when you get to the closing table, do you bring anything for your clients, or that's not your thing?
So honestly, it's kind of a mixture of both. When I ended up, I guess it depends on the client and the situation. We've left like big, like pizza box, like bringing pizza to the house with wine and like, you know, and we'll leave things in the house. So we'll just, as soon as we fund and record, I say, hey, you know, home's yours, keys under the mat. As soon as they walk in, they've got a big welcome. You know, nothing's more convenient than just you're unpacking and you've got some boxes of pizza. But realistically, you could do baskets. I used to bring a lot of stuff just to the closing table, but I felt like really kind of touching base with them after they're in the house. It was another kind of touch point. They already saw me at the closing, you know, and so I would always kind of send something afterwards or swing by or, you know, and say, hey, you know, I want to check out your house. And so I think that's also the personal touch that people respond to. The fact that it wasn't just, I closed, here's the key, see you later, I won't talk to you again. It was the fact that we were like, hey, you know, I saw you were doing some painting on Facebook. Would you mind if we swing by, bring the gift and do the thing? And so it's just, it works better, I think, to find something that's more personable that you can kind of connect with that person, but it varies per person.
Yeah. I thought was such a great idea that her and her husband and wife team, they sponsor their buyer's housewarming party. So they have the title company and the agent pitch in like $100 each or whatever and cater food and the wine and whatever to the housewarming party. And then the agent shows up. Now imagine when your clients who are Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, and now you are throwing them a housewarming party in their own house. And now all the guys are there to be like, holy, agent is amazing. And all you did was $100. You would have spent that money anyway. So go pick a Saturday. Figure out your catering company, get your title company and the lender who was involved in that transaction. They all made money on that transaction. Pitch in $100, cater the food, show up, serve the wine, serve the champagne, whatever you are there for. Spend an hour, give out some business cards, and then leave. And let them do the mess and deal with it. But I just thought it was a great idea.
It is a good idea. And honestly, it's those personal touches, like people, they respond to that. So when I think of closing gifts, I used to be just kind of like, here's your basket, you know, have a good time, like enjoy your house. But if you want to really get the repeat business and you want to leave that lasting impression, you always have to think personal touches. And I think that if you can gear your mind to think towards, you know, that, I think you'll be okay. But I always feel like closing gifts, they just vary so much.
So how about reviews and feedback? So after you close, do you ask for reviews and feedbacks? If so, which platform?
Yeah, so there is, and I'll have to, maybe I'll like tag it. I don't remember what the company is called. It's like an automated thing that we send out. And so they'll go ahead and they'll put in their review. It's hard because it's like a double-edged sword with sending anything off of like Zillow. So everyone works off of Zillow. I hate Zillow. And so it's like, sometimes we'll ask for like multiple, I don't know, it's hard, but really we use our main platform. It's automatic. As soon as the transaction closes, it sends out. A lot of people will fill it out, especially if you do it, but you have to be quick. So if you wait like a week after closing, it's not as fresh. So literally like as you're leaving the closing table, you need to send that email out and get the review like ASAP. And then, and you'll have a higher rate of people leaving reviews if you do that.
That's what we do. So ours automatically goes out in 3 different platforms. So we do use Zillow. That's the only reason I use Zillow is because I use their platform for the traffic they generate. So they can see all things. So we do Zillow, Facebook page, and then Google My Business. So those are the 3 that we ask our clients to fill out. And all 3 require the review to come directly from the source. So I can't ask them for a review and then copy it into Zillow. It has to come directly from the source. So that's why we send them those. So is there anybody, I mean, please ask her absolutely anything. We are 46 minutes after the hour and I have a 2 o'clock podcast. So I have to leave here no later than 5 minutes before the hour. So please unmute yourself and ask him anything. Go. Crickets. I love how everybody knows everything on today's call.
Sorry, I jumped on the call super late. How long have you been in real estate?
So I was licensed in late 2014. And actually, so before that, I worked with a friend that he was a flipper, and that's why I got into real estate. So I had been on and off working in real estate since about 2012, but then just came licensed in 2014.
Okay, so I've been an agent for 3 months. What's like your one word of advice that you wish you could tell you, like me from yourself back then? If it makes sense.
Okay, so as a new realtor, like honestly, I wish that I would have taken a little bit more care in setting up my systems and becoming organized off of the platforms that I use today. So setting up systems for follow-up, setting up systems, and it always kind of depends because new agents, they're just wondering about leads, right? You're like, I just want business. But I think really taking a step back and setting up the systems that you need to put in place in order to scale and grow smoothly, so you don't lose clients in the future, all of that, it's systems, number one. And then do set up a solid follow-up strategy. So whether that's that you use an Excel sheet, a CRM, whether you write it down on a piece of paper. I was just notorious for, I'm not kidding, I would write a client's name down 100 times every day, just knowing like, this is my person, this is my person. And I created, it was a mental follow-up system, but I think follow-up's huge. It really will make or break a new business.
100% agree. So I used to use the lead tracker religiously because I don't believe in technology and CRM programs, they're amazing. But if you do this right, you're going to generate so many leads that you won't be able to tell which one a hot lead, which one a warm lead, which one is cold lead. And I didn't want to have to go through every single day. So instead we have the lead tracker, which you guys all have access to. I like to see certain things. I like to see the amount of leads I'm coming in and what's the dollar value of that, what's the volume of that, and what's the commissions, what's the potential. So if I see then I have $7 million in the queue, and that's equaling to $210,000 in income. Now I'm like, oh my gosh, I have like $250,000 in the queue. Okay. So that's tab 1. Tab 2 is out of the ones that are coming in the potential, how many am I able to turn into a potential client? How many goes from potential to client? So now out of the 7 million, let's say I have 2.4 million that signed a buyer's agency with me or they're listing with me. So now then I know, okay, so I have 2.4 times 3, 6.7.2. So that's $72,000 I have income, potential income coming in the next 30 to 45 days. And then out of that 2.4, how many did I close? So now I know, then I took them from the evolution of, hey, nice to meet you, all the way to like, congratulations, you own a new home, kind of. And I did that with the lead tracker spreadsheet. And Christy or Mariana, maybe you guys can post that link in here as well. And that was my way of keeping track and seeing the numbers right in front of me. So every morning with my morning coffee, I would wake up, look at my lead tracker. I have my client's name, you know, their email address, both of their email addresses, or their buyer or seller or both, because sometimes a client is a buyer and sometimes they have to sell in order to buy. So now there's suddenly 2 clients, if that makes sense. And then I'm like, what area they're looking in, what is the price range that they're looking in, and what's the potential potential commission that's going to come from it. So I like to track everything. And then every day I would log in. I'm like, oh, I need to call so-and-so. I called them yesterday, they didn't call me back. So then I would call them again or text them very quick and then leave a note for myself. So as much as I had everybody and still have everybody in my notebook, I still have everybody in a lead tracker right there in front of me. So I can never forget about anybody, because that's what Kim said too. It's your game. If you're not good at follow-up, you're going to lose your clients that you worked so hard to generate.
Yep.
Awesome.
So I have a couple of questions. When you said you use KV Core religiously, where did you do the training that they have on their website, or how did you figure out all the details of how to really implement it well?
Yeah, so I did a little bit of the training. I did watch a lot of the videos, and I will say they have like a curriculum thing that you can go in. I do recommend those. Watch the videos. We just kind of took it one step at a time. And so we would start focusing on, did we want to generate buyer leads? Those are obviously the easiest to generate online. So we started with navigating what that looked like with their training. But then a lot of it was just kind of trial and error. Like we literally took a lot of the default settings and the campaigns, and a lot of it was not me. It didn't sound like me. And if I'm going to market to the people that I'm trying to market to, had to be sensitive to the demographic. And so I went in and I did customize a lot of the things just because of our area, and customize it mostly, and because of my business. And I didn't want it to sound too like solicity, I guess. But I mean, just take it a little bit at a time, start with their videos, and then just kind of troubleshoot a little bit here and there with your own verbiage. I actually really do highly recommend changing the verbiage on a lot of their default settings for their responses. We've had a higher conversion rate by making them sound like us. So
we do that too. We did the whole, everything that we had like in Lion Desk, poor Christine.
Yeah.
She did me for weeks, but I was like, none of this sounds like me. That's not something I would freaking say.
Yeah.
And my clients know that it's automated. It doesn't come from me. So we literally changed it. Some of them were like 12 pages long. I'm like, who has patience to read that? I wouldn't read it. Why would I put my clients through that? So because I'm straight to the point, because my English is imperfect, we literally type as I speak. So I would just type up of like, hey, I'm just following up. I saw that you looked at blah, blah, blah 6 days ago. I haven't seen you since. Or maybe it's like, I see that you used to be looking at $300,000 homes and suddenly looking for 450. What's changed? We need to talk. So just straight to the point, and the way I would talk, change all your automated drafts to the way you would talk, because your clients know you, especially if you found them through social media. They're following you for a reason. And if what you're putting out there to the world, it doesn't match to who you are, it's not going to work. They know it's automated.
Yeah. Yeah, well, and I do think that you eliminate a lot of the tire kicker leads if you're just straight to the point. Like I know a lot of it has a lot of fluff. So I think just getting to the point, that's the easiest way to do it, honestly. And people will respond to the directness of what you're asking or instructing of them. I think that works a lot better. So yeah, we took out the fluff.
Yeah, I agree with you.
So.
Well, Kim, thank you so much for being here. We are 15 minutes after the hour, and I have a 2 o'clock. Usually the icons here go for half an hour. So thank you so much for your time, and thank you so much for sharing your knowledge. Thank you everyone for showing up here today for yourselves. I hope you got nuggets that you need to go and implement, because you remember, sitting here and taking notes but not acting on it, it's wasting your time. So you have to take what talks to you or what talked to you today and implement it into your business to take your business to icon this year. So thank you, Kim. We are going to send you the recording.
Yes, thank you.
Everyone, and thank you for your time.